Sunshine and heat have given way to cooler, overcast conditions here at Circuit of the Americas, just outside of Austin, Texas, as the second leg of TC America, powered by Skip Barber's doubleheader weekend, is about to get underway. Race 1 saw Canadian Braden Arthur prevail in a race-long duel with Andre Castro and Dean Lambrose, all of whom start up front again today in Race 2. It's an exciting atmosphere for sure here in Austin, Texas, and it was an exciting start to the weekend with race number 1. It was a sun-baked day in Austin as the field got ready for the first race of the weekend. Temperatures soaring up near 90 degrees Fahrenheit even in the evening hours. The green flag waved and it was a duel at the top of the hill in turn number 1 with Braden Arthur doing battle with Dean Lambrose. Lambrose got the jump at the start. Arthur shuffled back from pole position back to third, but he started to march his way forward around the midway point of the race, first getting around Andre Castro. That pair split the 2 races in Sonoma earlier this season, then tracked down Lambrose to take the lead of the race, a lead he would not relinquish. Behind him, though, the fight was fierce just outside of the podium positions, bodywork flapping in the breeze as the teammate to Lambrose, Logan Anderson, did battle with Shelby Mills. This was through turn 20, part of a battle that raged on all race long. Eric Coons got shuffled out wide, very nearly coming together with Mike Lamara, both able to continue on. PJ Gronke, suspension failure. He said it was self-inflicted, too much curbing, and it cost him dearly. He was out with 1 lap to go, but at the front, getting the win for the second time this season, Braden Arthur. And Braden will try to go for a sweep of the weekend, but if he's going to do so, Calvin Fish, he has to do so from the outside of the front row here today. Andre Castro might have only finished 3rd yesterday, but he had the fastest lap of the race, and courtesy of that, pole position for race 2.
Yeah, and I think if we reflect back to Sonoma, an identical scenario there where he finished behind Braden Arthur in the first race of the weekend, sat on the pole courtesy of that fast lap in race 1 and took that to his advantage and got the victory. So he's hoping for that here today. First weekend with the Hyundai Cup points on offer as well, so that's important to him. But Braden Arthur, it looked like he's vulnerable yesterday. It took him 2 or 3 laps to really get into his rhythm. But boy, that Toyota is certainly quick. But there's Lambrose as well. He's in the mix. He'll sit 3rd on the grid, but that Acura certainly has some pace here this weekend. He said he wrung his neck yesterday, got everything out of that race car to get that runner-up position, so he could be a factor here today as well.
As you saw a few moments ago, cool conditions. You can see it overcast and high humidity as we go down to the pit lane. And the 3rd member of the team, Amanda Busick, you were telling me earlier some stray raindrops about 15-20 minutes ago. What's the latest down on the grid?
Hey guys, yeah, good morning. I was up in the upper paddock talking to our drivers prior to race number 2 here, and we were feeling a little bit of moisture in the air. It has kind of disappeared here now, but we'll keep an eye on it. I gotta love to point out Braden Arthur here with the Cielo Vision race car here this weekend, especially for that GT World Texas event weekend that Cielo Vision is sponsoring for us. But Braden Arthur, he pointed out to me yesterday that he just loves the difference of manufacturers here in the front 2 rows. We know that they're going to be going after it today, but I'm going to take you guys back to Skip Barber. I was talking to Dean Lambrose this morning. They made another big swing at the car yesterday. He said specifically in the camber they were having some tire deg issues yesterday, but he said that the program coming in this weekend, they're kind of operating on opposite strategies for both of these Acuras to kind of work through different setups and see what they like from each or the other, and then they'll kind of narrow that down as we get to the race. But Dean was telling me even after qualifying yesterday, these Acuras went through tech 3 different times just to make adjustments. Dean's expecting himself to be fast here today. We'll see. We were talking to him after the race yesterday, and he said, I really gave it everything that I had, but hoping that these adjustments can make it in his favor here today, guys. I'll keep an eye on the weather, but so far good down here.
That's what we like to hear. Thanks, Amanda. Appreciate the effort to track down those stories. Also really happy to see at the back of the grid, teammate to yesterday's winner on the grid here. Jesse Dorkin had a mechanical issue earlier in the weekend, but wonderful to see that they were able to get that rectified, and he says he's got one direction to go, and that's forward.
Yeah, it's disappointing to see him not see the green flag. Yesterday, car set up on stands with no engine. That got here late yesterday, so the team's done a great job to get him on the grid once again. He's still learning, new to this category, of course, but certainly has a lot of talent, and JMF have got the field covered here. Got one car on the front row and one at the tail, so we'll see how far Jesse can move up today.
Native of Colorado, right out of karting and into TC America, powered by Skip Barber. Great place to cut your teeth, hone those skills. And we saw you better be comfortable getting the elbows out and fighting side by side, especially in the mid-pack yesterday, Calvin. Some really captivating battles.
Yeah, some great racing throughout the field, and I think this racetrack really allows that. It's very wide open through here. There's a lot of real estate to work with, and that allows the drivers to have a lot of fun, kind of experiment with lines. There's certain corners, particularly when you come through that stadium section as you get into Sector 3 there, where it's really tricky to defend, not open up the door on the entry to some of the corners, and you've got some spirited drivers trying to take advantage of that.
It starts to roll out onto the track. He's delayed by about a minute or two. We had a session of Toyota GR Cup on track prior to this. One car found the Tech Pro barriers in that, and those had to be rearranged before we could go racing. But the great crew at Circuit of the Americas has attended to that situation, and it's about time for us to go. Let's talk about this track here briefly, Calvin. This place is a classic. 20 turns, just about 3.5 miles around, and it's the elevation change maybe that gets your attention most.
Yeah, a lot of elevation change, over 130 feet. The majority of that happens on the run up the front straightaway, exiting turn 20, up the hill into turn 1, 11% grade right there. Big braking opportunity. Obviously, the car slows down and kind of compresses the tire into the racetrack there, so you can brake super late, but it narrows, it funnels down, so you got to be careful. Then that rhythm section through what they call the Sen S, turn 2 from the Interlagos Grand Prix circuit, then Maggots, Beckett's, Chapel, Silverstone Grand Prix circuit corners are mimicked here as well, and that really unique. So you come out of 15 and go through 16, 17, 18, that triple apex mimics in Istanbul, the circuit, turn 8 there. So some great memories from looking at tracks around the world and seeing them kind of congregated here in this circuit here, which has obviously been home to a Grand Prix for many years now.
Track designed by Herman Tilke with assistance from Tavo Helmond, as well as 1993 motorcycle world champion Kevin Schwantz, native Texan, who had a part to play in designing this facility. Let's look at the way this grid will line up for the second race of the double-header weekend. As mentioned earlier, Andre Castro put in the fastest lap of the race in race number 1. Courtesy of that, he gets the pole position for Rika Autosport, the Gin Racer sponsored Hyundai Elantra. Brayton Arthur, yesterday's winner alongside. He takes the championship lead courtesy of that win yesterday. Dean Lambrose, career best second place yesterday. Next to Logan Anderson, great starting position for him. Eric Coons and Justin Gravitt will line up on row number 3. Then it's Mike Lamara for Precision Racing LA and CJ Sepulveda back in the championship for the first time in 2026. A couple of Canadians, Shelby Mills and PJ Gronke back in row 5. Robert Bellevue, and the debut of the weekend for Jesse Dorkin had to miss yesterday as the team dealt with some mechanical gremlins that surfaced earlier in the week, but he is ready to go. And as Calvin pointed out, they've got cars due JMF on the front row and on the back row. We'll see where they meet as this 35 race gets underway. Safety car has disappeared up ahead, which leaves the field now in the hands of the pole sitter, Andre Castro. Here to wave the green flag is Paul Tuyamavave, guest of Cielo Vision, and you can see the smile on his face. What a great perspective to help get this race underway. Here comes the field through turn number 20. Looking for the green flag, which comes at a line further down the track than we'll see the checkered flag. Great alignment from the field here today. 12 cars getting ready to take the start. There's the green, and we are racing at Circuit of the Americas for the second time this weekend. Castro, the pole man, gets a great jump from the second row. How about this move? Lambrose to the inside of yesterday's winner, Brayton Arthur, and they're still side by side in the plunge down the hill toward turn 2. Looks like Arthur's going to be able to fend off the challenge and hang on to that second spot.
Yeah, kind of a cut and paste from yesterday, but in the reverse positions. Yesterday it was Lambros making that move around the outside. Arthur made it stick this time, but certainly a great jump there by our pole sitter, Andre Castro, as we said, trying to mimic what he did in Sonoma by winning race 2 of the weekend.
Now it's Logan Anderson trying to fend off a challenge. Coons on the move. To the inside of Coons comes Gravett in car number 8, working his way around the outside of his teammate. It becomes the inside here. Opportunistic move in traffic, and he picks up the spot.
You can really use up those curbs there through those S's and really find some space to make some moves and keep it clean. Good battling between the teammates. Mills, late breakdown to the inside. This is going to get really risky. Just gets it wound down in time, but loses all of his acceleration off that tight turn 11 corner.
Sepulveda gave him room, but only just enough. Mills has to settle back in behind the blue Integra of Lamara. Here comes the field down the kilometer-long back straightaway at Circuit of the Americas. Arthur on the charge, and it hasn't taken long, has it? He's up alongside Castro. They're squabbling for the lead of the race, still side by side. Castro not willing to give it up, but he might have no recourse here, as Arthur does have the inside line. Castro continues to roll the momentum around the outside, then opens up the inside now for a 3-wide move, and Lambros tries to take the lead away.
This is incredible racing here, and watch for Castro. He can do the crossover here. Arthur hangs on to the lead. Lambros trying to make it stick around the outside of 15. Now he's got the inside for the triple apexer here.
This is for the lead of the race here on the opening lap, and Lambros from third just a couple of quarters ago does take the lead. Now it's Castro on the charge. Gets to the flank of the Toyota of Arthur, settles back in behind. Lambros, though, controls this field heading towards turn 20 for the first time.
Certainly determined first lap here from Dean Lambros, just like we saw yesterday. He's given it 1,000,000% to try and get that victory here today. That was just great racing. I was really concerned about Castro when he kind of tucked it to the inside for the entry at turn 19. He's almost out of the peripheral vision of the two guys up front. Arthur, late move to the inside up into turn 1.
Lambros tried to defend, but it was too late. Already, Arthur was making that lunge to the inside, and he completes the pass in the braking zone for turn 1. Leaves the door open just a smidge, but Lambros wasn't able to pounce and punch his way through, so Arthur back to the point where he finished the race yesterday.
This is intense racing. This is like it's a 1 lap to go to the finish here type action that we're seeing on these opening laps here.
Team boss John Farrow watching on. The picture of composure on the outside, but you can almost feel the butterflies coming through the picture there.
Absolutely, a lot of motion going on right there, watching his young charge here lead this motor race, trying to sweep the weekend.
I understand that just before we went to that shot, he was quite animated up on the pit box, but he got settled down just in time for the shot to go live. Well done, John. But he has to like what he sees here with his car now out in front. And Dorkin picked up a spot as well at the start, up to 11th from 12th on the starting grid.
It's good to see that the car's operating perfectly with that fresh motor on board. So up front, right now they're just settling in. It seems like that Toyota has got a little bit part of the straightaway speed compared to the other manufacturers. That allows him to stretch out and take the pressure off as he gets down into this brake zone for turn 12.
Arthur, Lambros, then Castro. Castro under assault from Anderson, who was in the wars yesterday, but turned in the 4th fastest lap of the race to give himself a great starting position here today. Runs 4th right now, but this is about as close to the front as we've seen him in the 4 races that he's done in TC America.
Yeah, and yesterday he looked a bit vulnerable into some of the brake zones, but he was really on it right there. Nearly ran over the top of Castro, in fact, trying to get it slowed down for that long stretch down into the brake zone for turn 12.
We talk about this so often, but especially for drivers new in their career, having a night to sleep on it and then come back and race again the next day really drives home those lessons learned in race 1.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about his braking performance. He's kind of in the middle of the road a lot, trying to be proactive in adapting along. Sometimes you just miss your braking point, so I think he maybe settled down, thought about it last night, where could I be a little bit better, and he certainly sharpened that up here this morning.
Completing lap number 2, it's still Arthur over Lambros by less than 0.3 of a second. Toyota from Acura. Just behind is the Hyundai of Castro, who is losing ground to the top 2. Then it's Anderson now, who's starting to back up to Gravett and Coons. That is a Acura leading a pair of Hyundais fighting over 4th, 5th, and 6th.
Castro here just in the shadows. Certainly he's there or thereabouts, but doesn't seem to have quite that sharp edge that the two up front have right now. Saw that yesterday. He had the pole position, so we thought maybe he could control this race, but Braden Arthur immediately went on the attack and showed his intentions right at the drop of the green.
Had his work cut out for him yesterday when he was shuffled back to third in the early going. And it took him about half the race to start getting on the attack once again. Once he got to the front, though, there really was no challenging him. That Corolla got stronger, it appeared, relative to the competition as the race went on.
Yeah, certainly relative to the competition. He actually laid down his fastest lap of the race. I think there was 2 laps from the checkered flag yesterday. So that all-wheel drive Toyota, that's certainly come into play a little bit. A lot cooler conditions, as you mentioned, Ryan, this morning, about 15 degrees lower ambient. A lot of cloud cover as well, so that means this track temp is not going to ramp up immediately like we saw yesterday late.
And on that subject, Eric Coons yesterday in the heat seemed to be dealing with some overheating issues in his car. He and probably the whole field really have to be pleased that they don't have to worry so much about extreme, oppressive Texas heat today. These are very much production-based race cars that are susceptible when the temperatures start to creep up into the upper 80s and the 90s. Nowhere near that here this morning, with temperatures just in the 70s and without the sun beating down on the racetrack. Arthur is leading this race. Lambros, though, is starting to put some pressure on him. Then the battle for third and fourth is heating up with Castro and Anderson. We'll keep an eye on all of it, but while we do, a chance to check in the pits with Amanda.
We did mention a little bit of the cooling issues at the top of the show, and as you guys were just talking about, I did sneak by and talk to Eric Coons. He said that it was my doing yesterday. There was some front bumper damage and said it was his fault, so he's aware of that this morning. But his crew guys were here till 1 a.m. getting that car back together, specifically Cody Gavin. And I was asked by Cody, he said, "Can you do me something really special? My wife, Lexi Gavin, is watching from Utah. It is her birthday today, and I just need her to forgive me for being out here this weekend, guys."
Well, happy birthday, Lexi. Thanks for watching us on your birthday. And to your husband, thank you for the hard work to get that car ready to go. It's amazing what it takes to make a career in motorsport. That's true of drivers, it's true of crew members, maybe even more so. The time spent away, the late nights at the racetrack, it's not for the faint of heart.
It isn't. It's a lot of sacrifice, and you need a family and partners that will support all of that. So Lexi, pop some champagne, even if your boys' team don't get on the podium here today. Either way, celebrate big time. But right now, it looks like Lambros is feeling the pressure from Castro. Castro had a lot of attention from Anderson on that previous lap, and now he's escaped his clutches. He can focus forward once again. But up front, Arthur has separated himself from the pack by about a second right now.
Yes, Lambros is doing his best to come with him. Looks like Castro is struggling to keep the pace, as you say, with that top two. Anderson is right there, and behind is Justin Gravitt. If there's someone motivated to get a good result here at COTA, it's Justin. He's an Austinite. This is home turf for him, and he's hanging there just inside the top 5 with a chance to maybe get a little bit more. Here's the fight, though, for the final step of the podium. Anderson late on the brakes. Castro defends to the inside.
Yeah, Anderson definitely much more aggressive into these brake zones here today, so he certainly learned a little bit of something from yesterday and trying to correct that. Castro is out to be very proactive in defending that line into the brake zone, picking the middle of the road, which is totally legit as long as you're not moving around and reacting to the driver behind. Steers will not give you any attention on that one, but by doing so, I think he's really compromising his lap times. You see Lambros has immediately escaped him by a couple of 3 car lengths.
In the background, got a glimpse of Shelby Mills in the black and yellow Fawn Group Hyundai doing battle with his teammate CJ Sepulveda. Not sure who came out on top in that battle. PJ Gronke was there in the mix too. That was what we noticed yesterday. We had a couple distinct groups that formed, but within those groups the fighting was fierce.
It really was. There's some great battles throughout the field yesterday. Really feel like the Hyundai's just a little bit down in mid straightaway kind of torque there. It just seems to be really vulnerable, can't kind of hang with the Acras, it seems, and that seems that Logan Anderson can really close up on Andre, and he sees him coming immediately, kind of faint to the inside into these brake zones.
Talked about it yesterday, but it's worth reiterating. The gear ratios in these cars are not equalized, and so you're going to have strength and weaknesses at various speed brackets, let's say. and you could materialize making your way down the backstretch. You go to your top gear, and it's a different gear than your opponents have, and you'll see, especially in this style of racing, that ebb and flow even on a straightaway.
Yeah, you really do, how it accelerates up through the gears, and particularly tracks like Road America, where you've got that kind of tiered system coming up the front straightaway, for example, where you pop, and that next gear coming up through the range. But mainly it's through the corners. I spoke to Braden Arthur. He said, I'm in second gear, immediately grabbing third. He said third is such a high gear ratio for me through some of the tight corners here. I'm having to drop down to second just to get that initial squirt off the corner, then grabbing third immediately. You could hear that from the cameras at the side of the racetrack when he comes through turn 20 a few moments ago.
Mike Lamara, the Michigander, 5th yesterday, runs 7th at the moment, just ahead of this battle. So Shelby Mills, PJ Gronke, CJ Sepulveda have all found one another running in this pack. Mills at the front of the train, black and yellow machine. Sepulveda at the back, he's the caboose, and then right there in the middle was PJ Gronke. Here's a fight once again with Castro and Anderson. Really good scrap between these two. Castro, the much more experienced driver, albeit not as much in touring cars. Anderson fresh into TC America, but learned a lot of lessons yesterday. He's applying them here in this fight for the final step on the podium.
Yeah, this stadium section, you can really see that side-by-side. Bicycles are over that apex curb there for turn 15, just trying to make himself there, but not getting to the side of Andre Castro. Castro's got really great racecraft here, being pretty stoic in his defense, but again, he's got to be frustrated by seeing the championship leader, Braden Arthur, streak away at the front. Braden Arthur's fast lap is some 6/10 faster than the rest of this field right now, so he's got a lot of pace in that Toyota this morning.
Yeah, starting to leg out the advantage, up nearly a second and a half now over second place Dean Lambrose, and then a update at the line. Yeah, found another 10th and a half or so on that last lap. 22 minutes, 40 seconds still on the clock. Here comes Arthur, looking to become the first driver this season to sweep a weekend. He splits the two races at Sonoma with Castro. Castro right now has to be thinking damage control, trying to maximize this day when it appears he might not have the sharpest weapon to fight with.
Yeah, I think obviously he's got that Hyundai Cup situation on his mind as well, so he's the lead Hyundai out there right now, which is good for him. But yeah, I mean, his full season is still in sort of like the wind a little bit. I know he's committed now for the next couple of weekends, but you know, he really needs the results to get that support so he can finish out the season and give Braden Arthur a hard time for that championship title.
Remarkable CV for Andre, everything from single-seaters to NASCAR, now here in touring car racing. Really fights hard to put together these opportunities and has found a great chance here with Gin Racer, with Rika Autosport and Hyundai. And you mentioned that Hyundai Cup, some great prizes waiting at the end of the season for the driver that comes out on top of that little championship within a championship, including the chance to represent Hyundai over in Germany at the Nürburgring, which CJ Sepulveda was doing just last weekend.
Yeah, certainly a bucket list item for any sports car driver to run in these massive events like the Nürburgring 24, the CrowdStrike 24 Hours of Spa, of course.
Both part of the SRO umbrella when you talk about the 24-hour race at the Nürburgring, joining Intercontinental GT Challenge in recent years, alongside the CrowdStrike 24 Hours of Spa, Bathurst 12-hour, 1,000 kilometers of Suzuka, and of course the season finale for SRO America at Indianapolis in October. TC America will be there as part of the support bill. We've seen some great racing at Indy in these touring cars over the years. As we've seen here at COTA, fastest lap of the race belongs to the leader, Braden Arthur. But give Dean Lambrose credit. He closed in, found about 0.4 of a second at last check. It was up close to a second and a half. It's down just over 1 now. He's not going to go without a fight.
No, he seems to be very determined here this weekend to really try and break through and get that big win. Really talented young driver who's really ticks all of the boxes, really forceful with his promotion around his racing program and everything. That's what you have to do at this young age. Be seen, don't be a pest, but certainly make your presence known in a championship and in the paddock.
There's a look at the Skip Barber School team. They like what they see here as Dean closes in on the leader of the race. Arthur edged away by about a 10th at last check since the last timing loop, but Lambrose keeping him honest. Northport, New York is where he calls home. We've seen his brother in this series before, William. But Dean debuted at Indy last year, a couple of podium finishes there, and he's been on the rostrum in 2 of the first 3 races this season as well.
Really beautiful rhythm there down through the S's, really driving very nicely, nice and tidy. Grabber looks like he got some pace there. I wonder if he can clear Anderson, if he can go chase after Castro for that top Hyundai spot here today. Seems to be matching Castro's times right now.
Back to another internecine battle between Hyundai's. Mills in the Fun Group car coming under threat. It's Sepulveda now mounting the challenge, and he got a great run. To the inside he goes. Mills tries to crowd him down to the apex. CJ not willing to give up that spot willingly, and it looks like coming out of the corner, he's got a pretty good shot at holding on, but Mills got a decent jump there, Cal.
Yeah, I think CJ was just super respectful, and by doing that, he really tightened his hands a lot, which meant he was back to power late. So he didn't get that launch off the corner, so a lot of respect, but I think if it was me behind the wheel, I'd have washed out a little bit more, Ryan, maybe, and just used up his teammate.
Sepulveda to the inside, Mills to the outside. PJ Gronke watching from just behind in his Rika Autosport machine. Mills now with the inside line. If he can hang on up and over the curb, it bounces him out wide, and that shoves Sepulveda wide as well. Here comes Gronke now on the attack as CJ counterattacks to the inside.
See if PJ can really time this. Right now, he dives in a little bit too much, picks up some understeer there. He's trying to get the crossover set up as they exited that really tight left-hander turn 15.
Well, the battle is settled down for the moment. Sepulveda up a spot. Mills now trying to defend from Gronke. We'll keep our eyes on it, but another chance to go down to the pits in Amanda.
I just absolutely love watching this battle. I was talking to Shelby Mills earlier. While it's not his first time here at the Circuit of the Americas, it is his first time in SRO competition. He said he's been here with WRL before, and I said, well, what's the main difference? And he said, well, it's about 10 to 12 seconds faster here in TC America in this race format, in this race car. But he said specifically, those S's come at you fast.
I believe it. He was quick on debut at Road America last year. Saw him at Sonoma as well to start the season. He's finished 8th in all 3 races so far, so needs to pick up one more spot if he's going to keep that streak alive. Native of the outskirts of Ottawa, Ontario, Canada.
Really interesting to come through these S's with these big tire packs that have been installed on the apexes of those corners. Almost mimics a street circuit in some respects. They're so tall, taller than the roof line of the race cars, you have to sort of like peek your way around those. Talking to some of the drivers, they said you're coming into turn 3, you can't see through to turn 5 like you used to be able to, so that's been an adjustment for all of the drivers this weekend. But the lower curbs were in, and we came here and started the race week, and there's some tall curbs that have been installed and got everyone's attention, including the stewards, who said, let's go back to the regular ones so we can actually use them up a little bit.
Changed the complexion of the track, that's for sure. Anyone who we talked to after some of the testing earlier in the week, and then after the change was made going into yesterday, quick to acknowledge, yeah, the radius you could take through some of these corners changes dramatically. Here comes Mills now, trying to battle back on Sepulveda to the inside and into the brake zone. Mills has the preferred line. CJ trying to maybe cross him over, but that path was covered off by Mills, who's back up to the 8th spot once again.
Yeah, I think Mills is a bit more forceful in this little battle here. I think he's been a bit more aggressive with his lines here, like saying, I'm going to hang on to this. CJ's almost giving his fellow Hyundai driver a little bit too much respect right now.
And again, interested spectator just behind PJ Gronke in 10th. PJ making his season debut, Amanda, but big smile on his face here this weekend to be back in the paddock.
Yes, and he knows how much he was missed in Sonoma, and we talked briefly yesterday during race number 1 that this might be PJ's last season. I went and talked to him this morning to just confirm if that might be true, and he said that let's talk after Road Atlanta, but he said I've done everything that I've wanted to do out here. I'm so happy with my racing career, and he said that the last little piece of it, Ryan, as you talked about yesterday, was that Maverick helmet. He was so happy to get that done, but as every racing driver, you know, what do you do next? And he said, I haven't been on my surfboard since 2019. I'm ready to get back into the waters and see my friends.
Yeah, he's an avid surfer and has some amazing stories of traveling the world to catch some big waves. We talked about it a lot, the effort he puts in to put this program together. Partners like Vesticon, Tundra Technical Solutions, TalentNet, Welders Helper, Joseph Gas, Aletha Corp, Roro's Way, Cabanos Cheeseburgers, Eventscape, Canadian Credit Corp, Doug Ramshawn Family, Hempen Jewelers, Markham, RLVM Group, Route 44, Quality Cheese, and I think there's some more that actually don't fit on the entry list. These are the little pieces of the puzzle that come together to help PJ get to the racetrack.
Well, I picked up the entry list this week. The font was so small I had to go to the optician and get some new glasses for PJ's sponsors, but great to see him have so many partners on board. A little goes a long way, and he certainly has a unique way of going about his racing, and it's great to see him back out here again.
And it's nice to see there's still a place for it in the pro paddock. Racing has become so professional across the board that it's hard to make it work as a kind of journeyman, right? An everyday racing enthusiast who wants to exercise that passion, but clearly there's still a method to be able to do it. PJ, a multi-time champion in this series, running down in 10th right now, watching as Sepulveda continues this fight with Mills. Interesting to note that Sepulveda, 1 weekend ago, was sharing the track with Max Verstappen because they were both at the Nürburgring together.
Yeah, pretty cool. Great to see Max entering some GT racing at the moment with a little bit of downtime with the Formula One schedule being interrupted. But they'll be back in action in the US next week. Miami Grand Prix is next up for the Formula One team. So Max is obviously gearing up for that Nürburgring 24-hour assault this year, which will be fun to watch.
And of course, that weekend at the Nürburgring last weekend tinged with some sadness as the racing community lost Juha Mittinen, longtime racer at the ring, a couple of decades, racing there for many, many years with friends, and unfortunately lost his life in a tragic accident. And everybody here at SRO America thinking of Juha and his family and friends. It's a tough reality of this sport. Thankfully, these days, so much goes into the safety of the cars and the circuits, but a stark and unpleasant reminder of the realities of this business.
Yeah, it certainly is, and my thoughts go out to the family as well. He was a keen competitor and certainly was loved within the motor racing community.
The race goes on. 12 minutes, 12 seconds on the clock here. Race 2 at Circuit of the Americas for TC America, powered by Skip Barber. Braden Arthur's lead down under a second once again. So too is this fight as Sepulveda and Mills continue to scrap over 8th and 9th. They've swapped that position a couple of times. Looks like PJ's losing touch a little bit with this fight. But as they go side by side potentially, that could bring PJ Gronke right back into the conversation.
Yeah, looking at fast laps, it looked like CJ's got a little bit more pace by about 3/10 over Mills, but Mills has been pretty stoic here and hanging on to this P8 position. See what CJ can do here, just sitting in the draft, see if he starts to bleed out or whether Mills protects that middle of the road. Here comes CJ down to the inside.
Shelby seems content to let CJ make that move. He'll try to crowd him at apex,
like
but this time CJ a little later on the brakes and he got that move made.
Yeah, that's a bit more decisive. I like to see that. Just kind of learned his lesson a little bit. I think he was just giving his friend there a little bit too much room at times. So now he's got that position. See if he can just really nail these next few corners and escape his clutches a little bit. I think he's got a bit more pace there. He just needs to get that clean air on the front end of that Hyundai and take off a little bit.
Well, easier said than done, as we saw. He made that move once before, lost the position again, and then took him several laps to get the spot back. Right now, though, legging out a bit of an advantage. A couple of car lengths over the Canadian Shelby Mills for the Fawn Group and Rika Autosport. 10.5 minutes to go. There is Jeff Rika, reigning champion. Not driving this year, focusing on his team, which, in addition to running all these race cars, they're prepping them too. They are the builder and distributor for Hyundai of this TC spec car here in the States.
Yeah, Jeff's done a tremendous job, obviously winning championships for himself and for the team over the last few years, and just really displaying how important the customer racing aspect is for him as a business model and also representing the Hyundai brand. He's done an amazing job, and great to see him finally getting the rewards with some multi-car entries here for the majority of the season. It's a great place to go. He'll give you a great platform to go and show your skills for any young driver. Look, how do I break in SRO? TC is the way to go, and Jeff Rick is a great opportunity to talk to him and see if he can set you up for a race or two.
Team based up in Connecticut. It's been amazing to watch their growth over the last 5-10 years to this point where they are now so intrinsically linked with Hyundai. Jeff's gone, of course, to the ring and various races in Europe with Hyundai. He's also raced in South Korea at times, and the links just continue to grow stronger as the years go on.
Flashing down this 1 kilometer long, about 6 and a bit tenths of a mile. Kind of dyno run down there from turn 11 to turn 12. Then it really tightens up through this stadium section, as we call it, mimicking the Hockenheim German Grand Prix layout. Sepulveda again, he's maintained that position over the last lap here since he took it, going into that turn 12 braking zone. This is important here. He doesn't have Mills right on his tail, so he can actually run his normal racing line through this tricky little section here, and he can get a nice wide entry here for turn 15. Doesn't have to compromise his line and compromise his lap time.
Starts to pull away, though. Now equidistant between Sepulveda, Mills, and Kroenke. Should mention, we also have a new BMW in the field, made its debut at Sonoma. This is DRS, Dynamic Racing Solutions. Chris Valdez's team from the West Coast, and Robert Bellevue is the driver, Amanda.
Yeah, I snuck over and talked to him this morning as well, and he said, I'm just a vintage racing guy trying to switch from analog to digital out here, and said he's just having a ball at it. I was talking to him about what got him into racing. He said he's just been a long time lover of cars, but started getting more into it, doing some track time days within the last 10 years, and said that he had to step away for a little bit. He was taking care of his late wife, but said that it was the support of his family and friends that got him back into racing. He will be 70 years young later this year, guys, and told me, I have a son that could compete in the Masters Trophy Championship.
That's an interesting point I hadn't considered. Well, really pleasant guy, loving this opportunity to go racing, and this is the only example of this new BMW M2 that is racing right now in the U.S. Should be more on the way, and it would be a welcome addition. Think about what BMW has brought to the touring car scene over the years, and they've been a staple in this style of racing for a long time.
Yeah, I think as they start to get more and more cars produced, there's certainly a lot of customers eagerly waiting to get their hands on them, so I think we'll see more and more as the next year or two progresses here. Up front, pretty stable up front. Top three separated by about 3 seconds. Arthur looks to be in control. He's really quick through that first sector, just continually a tenth or two faster than the nearest chasers. And had a really good sector 2 on that lap as well. So he seems to have all of the tools in his tool chest here this morning to try and sweep this race weekend.
This is the fight for 8th, 9th, and 10th that we've been watching for quite some time. A moment ago through the foreground, saw Mike Lamara come through. He's having a lonely run in 7th, which is quite different from his experience yesterday when he and so many others were embroiled in that great 5-6 car battle that at times we saw them Noah's Ark style, 2x2, 3 rows deep. And it wasn't on the formation lap either, it was during the race.
He took a bump on the opening lap, controlled that nicely, and as you said, had a great battle going on with Coons there that got really close there towards the end of the race, coming through the S's. But yeah, he's kind of in isolation right now, which is not what he saw yesterday, that is for sure.
By the way, Robert Bellevue just did his best first sector of the race, so he's getting more and more comfortable in that car as he gets more laps and experience with it. This is advantage Sepulveda now at the largest lead he has had on Mills at any point in this race since getting by Shelby a few moments ago.
Yeah, and I anticipated that. I thought there was 3 or 4 tenths there potential that he wasn't able to display just because he'd been stymied there with that battle with Mills, but now he's got out front and established that. He just kind of got his head down and pulling gradually away, but got a lot of work to do. About 4 seconds up the road is Mike Lamar. I'm not sure if he's got enough time with only 5 minutes left in this motor race.
CJ grew up in a racing household. His father was a racing mechanic and did some driving in their native Puerto Rico. And talking to CJ, he said, just grew up around it. Couldn't wait to find a way to be part of it myself. And he's living the dream. Big smile on his face. And every time we get the shot of him on the grid, he's always pumping his fist in the car. He can't wait to get going.
He's ready for the fight, that's for sure.
7 races last year. Ran 2 at Sonoma, the triple header as we had it a year ago at Sebring, and then rounded out the season at Indy. Best result was 2nd place in the 2nd race of the season last year. Partial schedule here in 2026 with the focus on that Hyundai Cup, presumably, as we did not see him at Sonoma, but hope to see CJ a few more times yet before the end of the season.
Mike Lamara here, as we said, in a bit of a bubble in terms of cars around him, but certainly enjoying driving this racetrack. It is one that you can really get your teeth into. You can experiment with the lines a little bit, just look at your exit speeds off some of the corners, and certainly as you get deeper into this race, if there's any balance issues with the race car, just trying to fine-tune those. Pretty unique, as it's predominantly a clockwise circuit, of course, with a lot of left-handers, which we don't really experience on the championship trail anywhere else for the season.
Yeah, Lamara, former ST class champion in IMSA, going back to 2013. He's had success in minis, in touring car TCR type racing, and he's found a home with his Precision Racing LA team over the last half-decade or so. This is a development here. Lambros has dropped off of the leader, Arthur, and fallen into the clutches of Andre Castro. This is potentially big. It's early in the season to be talking championship, but we've seen this come down to a few points one way or the other, and there's a pretty big swing if Castro could make this pass on Lambros here and get up to 2nd, mitigate the damage of his championship rival winning. Yeah,
and Anderson's doing a really solid job here. I really think that he's gone away and done his homework last week and has put in a tremendous run here, sitting there in P4, not far off a podium. If these 2 guys have any argy-bargy here late in the going, could open up the door for Anderson and suddenly jump up into one of those podium positions.
That's a good point. Logan debuted.
Late move down to the inside for Castro. Is going to really slow him at the apex. Lambros does the crossover, and as Jeff Ricker celebrates, maybe a little bit too soon.
Yeah, couldn't quite make the move stick. That was well read by Lambros, who cost him back over, took the spot right back. And looking at the clock here, this lap and probably one more, certainly one more. White flag coming up when they come to start-finish next time. Here comes Castro to the inside once again. Lambros goes out wide to get the better run through the corner. Can he stay on the flank? Castro runs him a little bit wide, but Lambros does have the position now.
Watch Anderson. He's just watching these 2 battling it out, just trying to nail his exit speed through some of the corners, and he is right there right now coming into turn 15. Watch out for Anderson to get into the mix here.
Logan Anderson in the 2nd of the Skip Barber Racing Acuras, making things complicated for Andre Castro. He can't simply think about trying to take this spot away. He has to also think about where he positions his car. Does it leave him vulnerable to attack?
Yeah, that's not ideal for Castro to just really be able to focus forward. As you said, Anderson is complicating matters a little bit.
Run through 19, down to 20. Castro takes a peek to the inside. Second to last time rather, through the final corner. Here's the white flag. Arthur's lead, 3.7 seconds. Castro has to go on the defensive here. He's got 3rd, and Anderson is trying to take it away. Got a great jump out of the final corner, and Logan Anderson, for the moment, has the spot as Castro comes back.
Wow, that was just great racing there. I think Logan thought he had it set up, and Castro said, I'm going to just dive it down to the inside. He brakes so late in that big incline up into turn 1. It's amazing. You still have the grip to get the car slowed down.
Well, even if he doesn't get the spot, Anderson gets the assist possibly to help his teammate out there. Look at the gap that Lambros has been able to pull while Castro and Anderson were squabbling amongst themselves.
Yeah, it looks like Castro's car's come alive here a little bit. I mean, I thought Lambros looked comfortable there in P2, but Castro suddenly got some speed here. They also seem to have a bit more speed in comparison to the Acura going down that long straightaway last go-around. So see if he can close in. He's got a couple of corners to do it. He may be a bit too far back to go on the attack here before turn 12.
Just over half a lap to go. Arthur just over a mile away from sweeping the weekend at Coda. Lambrose, can he make it second once again here on day number 2? Castro trying to come up with some kind of a solution, but right now he might be thinking more about the car in the rearview mirror than the one out the windscreen. Castro has to go on the defensive. Here comes Anderson now, down the outside, trying to make this work down the long back straightaway. Anderson squirming under braking. Castro late on the brakes himself, rolling a lot of speed through.
He's going to lose the front end a little bit. Anderson now alongside as they exit turn 12.
Castro has the inside line here. Anderson trying to cross it back over, gets to the inside now. This is awesome. Back and forth between the two of them. Great news for Lambrose, who pulls away. Castro back now into that third position.
Yeah, Anderson almost needed to back out up a little bit in that entry to turn 15 to get able to set up for the crossover. Kind of got stymied there at track out, and there's not many corners left here.
Just this long duration corner, down to 19. There's Castro way out wide, gets loose, does a great job to hang on to it. Meanwhile, at the front, Braden Arthur through the final corner for the final time. There's the checkered flag for Arthur in JMF. He sweeps the weekend. Castro hangs on by the skin of his teeth. He'll take the third and final step of the podium. Lambrose, another runner-up result. Great weekend for him. John Farrow, though, will celebrate with a race-winning car in TC America for the second straight day.
Yeah, great performance there by Braden. Really controlled that race. Certainly really racing at the beginning. You see the rest of this field come through. Great to see the second JMF car making it to the finish line as well.
Yeah, that's right. That's Dorkin there, just behind this battle with Mills and Gronke. Shelby hangs on for 9th, Gronke 10th. Dorkin across the line in 11th. Exciting stuff behind this man. Really didn't have too much work to do outside of the first lap, where he got to the lead pretty quickly around pole sitter Andre Castro, and to your point, managed that lead from that point on.
Yeah, I'd say those first couple of laps were maybe the most intense TC racing that we've seen over the last 2 or 3 years. That was amazing stuff. Braden Arthur wanting to get to the front and control it, and Lambrose and Castro and company really just trying to hang on to it. But Toyota and JMF just too strong here this weekend.
Amazing year on year how far this Toyota Corolla project has come.
Incredible. They just really kept working at it with a lot of support from Toyota. Danny Koch and the whole team there have just been really respectful as Bellevue gets to the finish line. Another solid run for him, and he'll have enjoyed his time here at Circuit of the Americas in that new BMW chassis.
Cross the line for Robert Bellevue, and he sees the checkered flag here today in race 2 of the weekend. Striking livery on that car that ran in the plain white that it came from the factory in at Sonoma, but Chris Valdez and Robert's family collaborating on this design, and it is sharp. So the results from the second race: Braden Arthur by 2.7 seconds in the final analysis over Dean Lambrose. Andre Castro in third. 3 different manufacturers in the top 3 spots: Toyota, Acura, and Hyundai. Then it's Logan Anderson, career best result for him, ahead of the Austin native Justin Gravitt. Another solid day for Justin. Eric Coons in 6th place. Mike Lamara comes home 7th today. Sepulveda came out on top in that duel with Shelby Mills for 8th and 9th. BJ Gronke 10th. Dorkin, good to see him running today after missing a good chunk of the weekend with mechanical problems. And then Bellevue in the lone BMW back in the 12th spot. From here, TC America, powered by Skip Barber, heads to Sebring International Raceway. Couple of races down in Florida, and that's not too long from now. May 8th through the 10th is the weekend for SRO America in Sebring, from one world-famous track to another.
Yeah, very different though. I mean, Sebring is all about respect the bumps, very challenging, 17 turns. It's going to be hot and steamy. Humidity is high here, but it'll be even stronger, you would feel, in Florida in the middle of May.
How real is this momentum for Braden Arthur? Is it something that he can use moving forward? Now 3 wins in the first 4 races.
Well, super impressive. I mean, to make that transition from a GT4 car to TC, and hasn't missed a beat, really. He knows he's got some strong competition out there, but they just seem to have that little edge right now. I think the Hyundais have potentially got more pace there if they can work on their cars a little bit or get a little bit of help BOP-wise. I think that could change the dynamic of these races a little bit.
With the back-to-back wins, Braden Arthur extends the points lead now to 20 over Andre Castro. They were tied coming into this weekend. Dean Lambros has crept up into the third spot, just 14 points out of second place. Gravett and Coons super tight there in fourth and fifth. And a good day for Anderson, really jumps him up the standings as well. There you go. Braden Arthur, let the celebration begin for the second straight day. So he didn't need any directions making it to Victory Circle. John Farrow there to give him a hug. He's been a huge supporter of so many young drivers over the last few years, and Arthur, just the latest that he's been helping to shepherd along.
Yeah, it's a great ladder system that John and the whole group there at JMF have built, and certainly some talented drivers that they're finding as well. So they do their due diligence in terms of giving these young drivers an opportunity. You've got to show speed, and then you just got to get in there and get the job done. And certainly the boys that he's put the support behind have been able to do that over the last 3 years or so.
Braden comes from a racing family. His relatives very involved in Formula V racing up north of the border in Canada. A lot of club-level racing success, but this has been maybe the most noteworthy result for the family here, Amanda. Back-to-back wins, 3 out of the first 4 for young Braden Arthur.
Braden, I'll pass along the message. The guys just said that you'll now have a 20-point lead leaving here as we head to Sebring. And you told me ahead of the weekend that you came in here very confident after Sonoma. What did you establish this weekend?
I think I actually changed a lot in my driving and just tried to calm myself down a little bit. Coming off Sonoma, I wasn't too happy with how I drove in the second race, making small mistakes here and there, but I think I cleaned a lot of that up here. And I mean, 2 wins, it's always good. So now we have a point spot for going into the rest of the season, so it feels good.
Congrats on a banner weekend as we head over to Dean Lambros, and I think it was such a bounce back for him from Sonoma. And Dean, I was over talking to you this morning, and you know, you guys were making some adjustments last night. Just talk us through the race today and what your opportunities would have been.
I had a great start in turn 1. The car was on fire, so couldn't have hit the setup on the mark any better. And then, you know, Skip Barber team, they did a phenomenal job, you know, getting to me at this point. The car was fantastic until the end where it started fading away, but I think that was a little bit of me. But awesome learning experience. I'm happy I could finish second twice in 1 weekend, and I can't thank this crew enough. They've been doing a great job all week. I'd like to thank the DeMonte family and my family and Skip Barber team and all the staff.
Nice job, Dean. I did see John Farrow come over and talk to Dean after. As John walked away, he said, "This feeling never gets old," as he congratulated his driver as well on winning here. As we move over to Andre Castro, Andre, we know the opportunity you have here this weekend with Hyundai. What are your thoughts leading to Sebring?
I mean, I think we'll be competitive. You know, I think we'll see how everything goes. You know, first lap was rough. You know, saw us get out dragged on the straight, but he pretty much cleared me by the brake zone, so I don't think there's anything else I have to say about that. But I think we maximized what we could this weekend. You know, Hyundai, the team, Rico Autosport, you know, we worked, I think, perfectly, especially the whole team. I can't thank them enough, and we're going to keep maximizing what we have. So we'll just head to the next one and hope to have a bit better shot at the win.
There we go, guys. 4 races in the bag for TC America.
Well, that has to be the philosophy. Sometimes it's horses for courses, and you might not have the ultimate pace to go fight for the win, so you get the most points that you can, and it keeps him very much in the championship conversation heading to the next round at Sebring. Race number 2 under overcast skies here in Austin, much cooler than race 1 yesterday. Green flag waved with Andre Castro on pole position. Yesterday's winner, Braden Arthur, got shuffled back a little bit at the start, but quickly went on the attack, made it 3 wide for a few moments, squirting through for the middle of that threesome to take the lead of the race. Dean Lambros did his best to keep him honest, made a lunge to the outside in turn 1, trying to take the lead back, but it was Arthur able to consolidate that advantage, pulled away, and ultimately won by 2.7 seconds. Andre Castro had his hands full at one point, fighting for second place, ultimately had to settle for third, But it was a sweep of the weekend for JMF Motorsports and Braden Arthur, who's now won 3 of the first 4 races of 2026. It's been a lot of fun this weekend. Up next, a trip to Sebring, May 8th through the 10th.